with that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Everybody good?
Looks like we may have a suspect in custody in the Charlie Kirk.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Assassination
1, 2, 3,
manhunt.
4, 5, 6,
I think this may have been
7,
announced by the president.
8, 9, 10. Check 1, check 2, check 3, 4, 5.
I'll get it up for you guys
6,
here in a minute.
7,
They're just sound checking,
8,
as you can hear.
9, 10. And it's for you guys coming in, 7:30 is the earliest start time for this now, so you guys are all aware.
7:30. All right. Half an hour, 29 minutes.
All right, so we got some time. Give me a second to kind of put everything where it needs to be. Yeah, so the White House announced that there was a suspect in custody, which, that's Trump likes to, Trump likes to break news if he can, I think that's pretty clear. I think it probably drives people nuts when he does that. But I have seen a name associated with it. I think the Washington Post is putting a name out there. And we'll get some up here. Yep, so we're just waiting for that to get started. And then let me see if I can find you some of the news that's breaking about this. Sorry about that. Okay. So this is going to get started here in 25 minutes. Thank you for joining.
President Trump, in an appearance that is ongoing on another network, just said that there is now a suspect in custody for the Charlie Kirk assassination. We'll say that again. President Trump just now announcing that a suspect is in custody connected to the Charlie Kirk killing of a few days ago. The president just said this on Fox and Friends. I'll read the quote. "I think with a high degree of certainty, we have him in custody. Essentially, somebody that was very close to him turned him in. And that happens," the president adds. He goes on to say that a tip stemmed from a minister, Trump says he believes, who passed the tip to a friend who was a U.S. Marshal. And then they involved the father of the suspect. We don't have an identity yet. We don't have a name of this suspect.
It's kind of funny.
President Trump
that
himself
the president broke
saying
it.
that he learned of it just a few moments before he stepped on set. This is all taking place in the last couple minutes. As you might imagine, this is a very fluid situation. Seems like the president himself was just briefed on this. There were some details he acknowledged he did not know. But to recap the breaking news, of course, the assassination of Charlie Kirk, the conservative political commentator and organizer, shot in broad daylight on a college campus in Utah a couple of days ago. Video graphic went around the world very quickly. There's been an intensive manhunt for this suspect here. You're seeing the individual on your screen. These are images released by the police yesterday as they they're imploring the public to come forward with help, come forward with tips, with other information about this person. So now we're going to hear, I believe we're going to hear now what President Trump said just a few moments ago.
Here we go. This will be interesting.
I think with a high degree of certainty, we have him in custody, right? In custody. Everyone did a great job. We worked with the local police, the governor. Everybody did a great job. You know, getting somebody that you start off with absolutely nothing. And we started off with a clip that made him look like an ant that was almost useless. We just saw there was somebody up there. And so much work has been done over the last 2.5 days. You know, it's amazing, actually, when you start off with that and then all of a sudden you get lucky or talent or whatever it is. But, yeah, I think we're in great shape. Mr. President. He's in custody.
That was President Trump just a few moments ago on Fox and Friends. He is here in New York City, appearing in studio just across the street, saying with a high degree of certainty, quoting him, that they have the suspect in custody, but we don't know who this person is. We believe at 9 o'clock Eastern time, so about 45 minutes from now, authorities in Utah will hold a news conference. Let's bring in now MSNBC investigative correspondent Mark Santia. Mark, thank you for rushing back to set. This is obviously a breaking story. Just a few moments ago, the president said this. Is there anything else we've learned as to what happened?
No, right now, I mean, this is a major development. For the president to say, quote, we have him. He's in custody. Obviously, major development. We're working the phones right now, along with my colleague Tom Winter, Jonathan Dean.
I bet that language is a little different.
As you said, Jonathan, there's a 9 o'clock press conference.
Once the press conference happens. That's why I don't think they like the president breaking
this.
And then
shortly after, the president made these statements. Again, quote, we have him. He's in custody. President also said talked about the great work that's been done over the last several hours, the last couple of days. At this point, we're just waiting to hear. This is something that is very, very fluid at this time. We knew they were close. We knew they had, Jonathan, 7,000 tips, pieces of digital evidence. They were following several leads. So we knew, just talking to law enforcement sources and sources familiar with this investigation, we knew they were on it. We knew they were tracking down several leads. And you just heard from the president. He said, again, quote, we have him.
Yeah, I'm following along with the president's appearance. He says he hopes the suspect gets the death penalty. Obviously, you need a trial and conviction before that. He's moved on to other topics right now, including the nickname of the Washington Commanders football team. But we'll bring it to you if he says anything else. But to recap, just a few moments ago, President Trump, in a media appearance, said that a suspect in custody. No identity yet, certainly no sense of motive just yet. But it appears Ken Delanian is joining us now, MSNBC Justice and Intelligence correspondent. So, Ken, I'll come to you with this. It appears that the decision by the law enforcement in Utah to go public with these images is paid off. We carried that news conference live on our air yesterday, about 24 hours ago. The FBI in Utah said they weren't going to do that just yet, that they didn't think they needed to take that step. Well, they developed better images. We're seeing them here. They released them. They put out some video of the suspect both arriving and then fleeing the school after the shooting. And now these fairly high-resolution images in the stairwell captured, I believe, by a campus security camera, these perhaps is what helped. Ken, what more do we know?
Yeah, we're just working the phones, as Mark said right now, trying to understand what the president is saying. The images may have helped, Jonathan, or it could have been something entirely different. For example, the suspect could have decided to confess or turn himself in. We just don't know at this moment. Last night, it really appeared that they were stymied. I mean, they waited for hours to hold a news conference, and then when they did, they said very little and essentially started reciting how many interviews they had done and how many teams were working on the case, which when law enforcement starts talking about that, you kind of suggest they really don't have very much. And the head of Utah's public safety told NBC's Morgan Chesky last night that they had no idea who this person is or where this person was last night. Could have been hundreds of miles away from Utah, could have been close. They had no idea. So it really suggests that something dramatic happened overnight. It's possible someone identified this person from the photos, although the photos, the resolution on the face was not terrific. Obviously not good enough for the FBI to make a facial recognition match. Because again, very clear last night, they did not know, they did not have an identity of the suspect. So it does look like something dramatic has happened.
Well, according to the president, what that dramatic moment was, and we don't quite have the chronology, but he is saying that a minister, apparently, didn't identify who the minister is or where the minister lives, but a minister recognized the shooter, went to an acquaintance, a friend of his who's a member of law enforcement. At that point, the shooter's, or the suspect's family was also involved. The president said that the minister spoke to the suspect's father, perhaps, and that led to him being taken into custody. But again, we should note again, Mark, the president said that he was just briefed on this development a few moments ago, like right before he went on camera. So he has also acknowledged he does not have the complete story here as to what went. And we should also note of caution that twice before in this very shooting, the police detained someone they thought was a person of interest, even a potential suspect, one of whom the FBI director, Kash Patel, took to social media and said, "We've got our guy," only an hour or two later to say, well, he wasn't our guy. So these things are fluid. But if the President of the United States is saying it, you'd have to think they have some degree of certainty that at minimum, this is someone that they really want to talk to.
I think you're absolutely right. The president saying it, coupled with in 40 minutes, there's going to be a press conference in Utah. There is obviously something imminent. This is breaking, and as you said, fluid. But I think what's interesting, Jonathan, is you had those stills. Ken was talking about the stills that were released. You had the direct sort of still photographs of the suspect's face. And then last night, there was a push to get out the clothing. The police commissioner talking specifically about the Converse shoes, the sweatshirt with the American flag and the eagle. And they were reaching out to the public. I mean, if you know this person, there's a good chance you might recognize him. But then when you couple that photo of the face with the Converse shoes or some of the clothes, it might ring a bell. And we've seen in several different investigations, people stepping up and speaking out if they recognize someone. Again, the president saying, we have him, he's in custody. And as you said, someone who knew him, according to the president, turned him in.
Now, this president, not always the most reliable narrator, but again, you'd think that he would, be certain of this development before going public with it. We should also recap some of the other evidence they had found. The rifle, the bolt-action rifle, was discovered. A palm print was found, and then and Mark, staying with you, we said the video of this individual, the believed suspect, both arriving and then fleeing. We saw that earlier in our show, jumping off the roof, landing pretty hard, I'd have to say, about 10, 15 feet down, and then making his way through a woods and then a neighborhood, and then they lose sight of him.
Yeah, that landing, as you said, that sort of hard landing, police and federal agents say they had a shoe impression, a footwear impression there.
You can see it
hitting
here.
The ground, right?
He's about to jump.
Scales that. You have that palm print, according to police. There's a forearm print, and then finally makes that leap downward. And police say they have a shoe wear impression there. They'll be analyzing that as well. Then runs into the wooded area where police say they recovered a weapon, that bolt-action rifle. Talking to retired ATF agents, they say it's a high-powered rifle that's being analyzed. They found several cartridges, including spent rounds that were found. ATF will tell you, bullets can tell a story, Jonathan. The casing that holds the bullet can tell a story. The actual gun can tell a story. They're reviewing that, looking at prints. You have multiple facets of this investigation in sort of moving right now. It's very, very fluid. Obviously, it's stepped up, it's ramped up based on what the president has said just moments ago.
And Charlie Kirk, of course, a close ally of the president, really, really a dear friend to the president's children, Donald Trump Jr. in particular. He was a close ally of Vice President J.D. Vance. In fact, Vance flew to Utah yesterday on Air Force Two and then took Kirk's body, his casket, on the Air Force Two, the vice presidential plane, flying from Utah back to his home in Arizona ahead of, we anticipate, funeral services in the days ahead. So
So they are just getting ready to start. Press conference is going to start at 9:30 Eastern Time. And we're kind of waiting for that to get started.
Welcome back. We have some breaking news now at 13 past the hour. President Trump, in an appearance that is ongoing on another network, just said that there is now a suspect in custody for the Charlie Kirk assassination. We'll say that again. President Trump just now announcing that a suspect is in custody connected to the Charlie Kirk killing of a few days ago. The president just said this on Fox and Friends. I'll read the quote. "I think with a high degree of certainty, we have him in custody. Essentially, somebody that was very close to him turned him in. And that happens," the president adds. He goes on to say that a tip stemmed from a minister, Trump says he believes, who passed the tip to a friend who was a U.S. Marshal. And then they involved the father of the suspect. We don't have an identity yet. We don't have a name of this suspect. President Trump himself saying that he learned of it just a few moments before he stepped on set. This is all taking place in the last couple minutes, as you might imagine. This is a very fluid situation. Seems like the president himself was just briefed on this. There were some details he acknowledged he did not know. But to recap the breaking news, of course, the assassination of Charlie Kirk, the conservative political commentator and organizer, shot in broad daylight on a college campus in Utah a couple of days ago. Video graphic went around the world very quickly. There's been an intensive manhunt for this suspect here. You're seeing the individual on your screen. These are images released by the police yesterday as they they're imploring the public to come forward with help, come forward with tips, with other information about this person. So now we're going to hear, I believe we're going to hear now what President Trump said just a few moments ago.
Doesn't it look like that thing on his shirt has a sticker? It's a sticker on top of something else.
With a high degree of certainty, we have him in custody, right? In custody. Everyone did a great job. We worked with the local police, the governor. Everybody did a great job. You know, getting somebody that you start off with absolutely nothing. And we started off with a clip that made him look like an ant that was almost useless. We just saw there was somebody up there. And so much work has been done over the last 2.5 days. You know, it's amazing, actually, when you start off with that and then all of a sudden you get lucky or talent or whatever it is. But, yeah, I think we're in great shape. And he's in custody.
That was President Trump just a few moments ago on Fox and Friends. He's here in New York City, appearing in studio just across the street, saying with a high degree of certainty, quoting him, that they have the suspect in custody, but we don't know who this person is. We believe at 9 o'clock Eastern time, so about 45 minutes from now, authorities in Utah will hold a news conference. Let's bring in now MSNBC investigative correspondent Mark Santia. Mark, thank you for rushing back to set. This is obviously a breaking story. Just a few moments ago, the president said this. Is there anything else we've learned as to what happened?
No, right now, I mean, this is a major
We're about 10
development.
minutes away from the
president
press
to say,
conference
quote,
starting.
We have him. He's in custody.
Sounds like they have a
Obviously, major
suspect in
development. We're
custody.
working the phones right now, along with my
President
colleagues,
Trump
Tom
has
Winter,
called it a
Jonathan
high
Dean,
degree of
reaching out.
certainty that
we
this
know,
is
as
the
you
right
said,
person.
Jonathan, there's a 9 o'clock press conference. We were told about a 9 o'clock press conference in Utah. And then shortly after, the president made these
Turned
statements.
in by
Again, quote, we have him.
well,
He's in
encouraged to
custody.
turn
The
himself
president
in
also
by
said
a
about
pastor.
talked about the great work that's been done over the last several hours, the last couple of days. At this point, we're just waiting to hear. This is something that is very, very fluid at this time. We knew they were close. We knew they had, Jonathan, 7,000 tips, pieces of digital evidence. They were following several leads. So we knew, just talking to law enforcement sources and sources familiar with this investigation, we knew they were on it. We knew they were tracking down several leads. And you just heard from the president. He said, again, quote, we have him.
Yeah, I'm following along with the president's appearance. He says he hopes the suspect gets the death penalty. Obviously, you need a trial and conviction before that. He's moved on to other topics right now, including the nickname of the Washington Commanders football team, but we'll bring it to you if he says anything else. But to recap just a few moments ago, President Trump, in a media appearance, said that a suspect in custody, no identity yet, certainly no sense of motive just yet, but it appears Ken Delanian is joining us now, MSNBC Justice and Intelligence correspondent. So, Ken, I'll come to you with this. It appears that the decision by the law enforcement in Utah to go public with these images is paid off. We carried that news conference live on our air yesterday. About 24 hours ago, the FBI in Utah said they weren't going to do that just yet, that they didn't think they needed to take that step. Well, they developed better images. We're seeing them here. They released them. They put out some video of the suspect both arriving and then fleeing the school after the shooting. And now these high
Sorry about the audio. That's them.
That is as much as we know right now. Again, we're all waiting that press conference. There is a host of people all around the world. We're all waiting to see what the FBI director's decision is.
The suspect was on the FBI's radar yesterday and was initially identified through facial recognition investigative methods.
We're about 7 minutes away from the press conference
So
starting.
again, about 7.5 minutes until we're supposed to hear from authorities about the suspect in custody. Thank you to Mike H. Totally different.
Last 36 hours, what has transpired, the evidence that they've collected, and what they know about this person, the suspected shooter. Yeah, I'm going to try to see if I can get this name confirmed without.
I don't know if there'll
And it's
be a
Tyler
trial.
Robinson,
I
that's
mean,
what I wrote down,
if this
right?
person confessed to his father,
Tyler Robinson, that's
which
his
is
name.
the reporting says, and if he confessed to law enforcement, there doesn't need to be a trial.
We're about 6 minutes away.
There is always a trial.
There is not always a trial.
There's not always a trial for. Not everybody goes through a jury trial who is charged with a crime.
There's always a sentencing. We're about 5 minutes away from getting started.
I mean, I guess it depends on how you define the word trial. But I'd have to look this up. But there does not have to be a jury trial for every crime. There's a difference between having a right to a trial and there actually being a trial.
About 3 minutes away from getting started.
We're about 3 minutes till the press conference. Again, President Trump said the suspect is in custody. President Trump said someone close to him. What was the language? Someone close to him turned him in?
A minister. He said it was a minister.
Someone close to the suspect helped turn him in. CNN said it was the suspect's father, that the CNN reported the suspect confessed to his father, and the father held him for law enforcement. Multiple outlets say the suspect is Tyler Robinson, 22, of Utah. The New York Times reports that he was taken into custody about 250 miles away from the shooting. Yeah, exactly. As Terry Lynn says, there was Brian Kohberger, as we just saw. There was no jury trial for Brian Kohberger. Perfect example. We just covered that. Our viewer Ralph Lemon says if they're going to go after a capital case, they may have to have a trial. Well, I understand what you're saying. You're saying, I mean, look, I know that the authority so far, President Trump has said and the governor has said they want the death penalty, right? So, you know, there's a world in which there would be a plea bargain, which is, I mean, this is what happened in the Kohberger trial, right? If I remember, Kohberger pled guilty and... Hold on. I don't want to...
We're getting ready to start here in about a minute. If they do start on time.
Yeah,
we'll
the prosecution in the Brian Kohberger case, I believe, dropped the death penalty in exchange for the guilty plea. Now, I don't know that that'll happen here because the governor is on record, for example. Hasn't President Trump said that too about the death penalty? Again, I want to remind myself.
The
So
president
I don't
said
know if the prosecution would be willing to drop the death penalty.
Well, the president said he hopes he gets the death penalty.
I'm guessing we'll hear about it. Yeah, I don't know if President Trump has he called for it
Yes.
in this case? I can't remember every single thing everybody says, so I want to make sure here. The governor last night said that they would be going for the death penalty. Oh, I'm sorry that we don't need the timer up there anymore because we're now at the point when it's about to start. Some of our viewers are saying Trump said death penalty. I might have even seen that this morning, but again, I'm sorry. I don't like categorically saying anything when I don't exactly remember. Fox News also is reporting that the name of the suspect is Tyler Robinson.
Yesterday, you were
Whoa,
at the
whoa,
9/11
whoa,
memorial.
whoa, whoa,
We were all
whoa! Why are we hearing something? Okay, we shouldn't be hearing anything.
Let's take a look at Steve Lookner's
Well,
stream
hopefully we get some
from Agenda Free
clarification
TV.
coming up. Yeah, a number of our viewers said that on Fox and Friends. A number of our viewers said that on Fox and Friends this morning, Trump called for the death penalty. Now, assuming, as one of our viewers said, if it's a state prosecution, it's up to the state. I don't know if there'll be federal charges here. Yes, I actually have it right here. President Trump said, this is what President Trump said. He said, in Utah, they have the death penalty. The governor is very intent on the death penalty in this case, and he should be. In North Carolina, you also have it, but we have to make sure that happens. So President Trump this morning said, the governor is very intent on the death penalty in Utah in this case, and he should be. But again, I'm not aware that he'll be charged with any federal crimes. I assume he'll be charged in the state. Now, I don't know enough about the Utah. I don't know. I'm not a Utah law expert, so I can't tell you how this is going to play out.
We're just tuning in right now to the Agenda Free TV stream with Steve Lookner. The press conference supposed to start 3 minutes ago. They're running a little late.
According to Wikipedia, the primary method of execution in Utah is lethal injection. However, firing squad is an alternative legal method of execution under Utah law.
Feels like they're starting to get ready.
But it also says firing squad is to be used if an inmate sentenced prior to 2004 affirmatively elected firing squad, well, that doesn't apply here, or if within 30 days of the scheduled execution date the state cannot obtain the necessary substances to carry out the sentence by lethal injection. Anyways, I don't want to get all into that now, but you can read about the death penalty in Utah on Wikipedia. I also don't know the chance that
again, I think.
If his legal team wanted to fight the death penalty, I don't know what their chance in that would be. I don't know the cases in which it applies, in which it's supposed to apply, and that kind of stuff. That's a legal question.
Check 1 2. Check 1 2. Check mic check 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. 1 2 3 4 5 6. We're hoping to get at least a 3-minute warning when they start walking, but we haven't got that yet. So 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. Everybody good?
Let me put
1 2 3 4 5 6. Good.
Let me put on the screen that we're awaiting the press conference. Give me one moment here.
We're watching a number of streams.
Awaiting press conference. So again, President Trump said this morning on Fox and Friends in an interview that the suspect was in custody. Multiple outlets identify him as Tyler Robinson, 22 years old, of Utah. President Trump said someone close to him helped turn him in. CNN reports the suspect confessed to his father, who then held the suspect for
See what
authorities.
that guy is doing.
The New York Times reports he was taken to custody in Utah, about 250 miles away from the shooting, near Zion National Park.
So still no official word on the start time. We will try to give at least a 5-minute warning on that, but we'll do our best on that. So
There you go. At least they're giving updates. You just heard that. So, we're just basically waiting for this press conference to start, and it could really come at any time. So, yesterday there were a bunch of reports claiming that there was writing on.
And that a third source now has confirmed to NBC News what President Trump broke on Fox and Friends just a short time ago, that the suspect is in fact in custody. We had an earlier reporting a moment ago that it was a family member that saw photos, perhaps these photos you're looking at right now, and turned the person in, but now confirmation that the suspect is in fact in custody. What else do we know, Ken?
Yeah, that's right. And this confirmation to my colleague Mike Cosner of NBC News suggests that this person is in state custody at the moment. Of course, there will be an interesting push and pull, as there often is, between federal and state authorities about who charges first or whether there are federal charges warranted here. But look, this is great news, and as we discussed earlier, Willie, it's coming really after a news conference last night that suggested that authorities were really stymied and had no idea who this person was or where they were. I mean, really, we're at loggerheads, and released those images to the public in the hopes that it would lead to someone recognizing this person, and it looks like it has. Again, according to the president, a minister recognizing one of the photos and then getting in touch with the family, who then, we understand, turn this suspect in, this suspect is now in state custody in Utah. Willie.
And NBC News now can confirm what the president reported himself from the top, from the Oval Office just a few minutes ago. And Ken, it should be said that about 24 hours ago, when we had that press conference with the FBI and the Utah Department of Safety, they didn't need the public's help. They said at that time they had their own images, and they were running it through facial recognition technology using artificial intelligence, all the tools available to those law enforcement outfits. And then yesterday they put these pictures out, which was almost a concession that we do in fact need the public's help. If anyone knows this guy, if anyone recognizes anything about this guy, please let us know. And it worked, and it does work. You talked about the shooting of the United Healthcare CEO in Midtown Manhattan a few months back. Those pictures go out, a McDonald's worker recognizes the shooter sitting there eating French fries and a Big Mac, and police close in. It looks like that's exactly what happened here again today, which is someone did recognize this person in a photograph, or at least something about him, and it went up the chain of command, leading to now what NBC News has confirmed, the arrest of the alleged killer of Charlie Kirk.
Yeah, Willie, it did work, and it's worth noting, though, that facial recognition technology has come a long way, and the FBI is not using, to my understanding, the best possible versions of that technology, in part because of privacy concerns. The civil liberties community in the United States has been very concerned about law enforcement use of facial recognition technology, and people I talk to involved in it are very frustrated because they think that the FBI could have much more powerful tools at its disposal. They don't have universal images of, for example, all the motor vehicle databases in the United States. Everybody gets a picture for their driver's license, and this is a great example. We had some pretty good photos, facial photos of the suspect. Not wonderful. The resolution wasn't great, but good enough. But they were not able to identify this person using facial recognition. I think, you know, we all ought to ask ourselves whether this is the kind of the state of affairs that we want because of privacy. Maybe that's the decision the country's making.
Is that what we
want? But it does mean that it's harder to catch people in situations like this.
I'm not sure that's
or in situations like the United Healthcare CEO killing in New York. I mean, the best facial recognition algorithms are Chinese ones, because the Chinese government has massive databases full of faces, and there are no privacy restrictions there, obviously, and they teach the algorithms, and the algorithms.
I'm not sure that's what we want.
But yeah, you're right.
Right.
In this case, they did it the old-fashioned way. They put the images out to the public, and thankfully, a member of the public recognized this suspect, according to the president.
We're following breaking news. Again, the shooting suspect in the murder of Charlie Kirk is in state custody as we speak, confirmed, of course, by our journalist and also announced by the President of the United States. We have a third senior law enforcement source confirming this, that the suspect is in custody and that family members actually were involved in this. We're going to get a lot more in a news conference out of Orem, Utah, that has now been pushed to 9:30 Eastern Time. Obviously, there's a lot to sort through as to what to release to the public during this news conference, and also what information can be gleaned from this suspect now that they have him. A lot of questions about motive, about planning, about whether or not there were more people involved. I mean, this is still a live, active situation for this campus until those questions are answered. Jonathan Lemire.
Yeah, I would certainly anticipate this suspect, whoever he might be, there'll need to be intense security surrounding him, considering what a high-profile crime this was, and it's how it's inflamed passions across the political spectrum, particularly.
Is that what you guys want? Is that degree of facial recognition going out there?
Kirk, a friend and
Yikes.
an ally. You know, Mark, we have.
I don't know.
We don't know yet,
Would they?
and
Maybe they would have
obviously
caught
we'll
him
get
sooner.
Some answers in 45.
But
minutes.
man, you're really sacrificing a lot of privacy.
You sort of hinted at it. Sort of almost. I don't want to use professionalism because that actually suggests this person was paid. We had no idea. But there's an experienced shooter, perhaps. It was carefully planned. It seemed to be methodical in terms of how this person got in. Was it take one shot only, quickly get out, and elude capture for 48 hours or so? What more are we hearing from investigators in terms of just what they, not who this person is, we don't know, but just the degree of preparation that went into this?
Yeah, I think that's a solid point, and that's what investigators are looking at. They're telling us, multiple investigators, some who have been on the shows here, have said that shot from that range, 200 yards with a bolt-action rifle, that didn't stick out to them. That wasn't something that, for investigators, that was remarkable. What they continue to say, and then you talk to law enforcement sources as well, what they continue to say is the planning. It wasn't just happenstance that that person chose that stairwell, that roof. They felt strongly that they don't know to what degree that person may have planned, but there was some planning. That's what they believe.
And we have more reporting coming in from our reporters on this, and we're hearing that the suspect, which you can sort of see in the pictures, is in his early 20s and is from Utah. We're going to be going live to Orem, Utah. Aaron Gilchrist is standing by. He's in the room where the news conference is going to take place at 9:30 Eastern Time.
Yeah, Willie, it did work, and it's worth noting, though, that facial recognition technology has come a long way, and the FBI is not using, to my understanding, the best possible versions of that technology, in part because of privacy concerns. The civil liberties community in the United States has been very concerned about law enforcement use of facial recognition technology, and people I talk to involved in it are very frustrated because they think that the FBI could have much more powerful tools at its disposal. They don't have universal images of, for example, all the motor vehicle databases in the United States. Everybody gets a picture for their driver's license, and this is a great example. We had some pretty good photos, facial photos of the suspect. Not wonderful. The resolution wasn't great, but good enough. But they were not able to identify this person using facial recognition. I think we all ought to ask ourselves whether this is the kind of the state of affairs that we want. Because of privacy, maybe that's the decision the country's making, but it does mean that it's harder to catch people in situations like this, or in situations like the United Healthcare CEO killing in New York. I mean, the best facial recognition algorithms are Chinese ones, because the Chinese government has massive databases full of faces, and there are no privacy restrictions there, obviously, and they teach the algorithms, and the algorithms get better. But yeah, you're right. In this case, they did it the old-fashioned way. They put the images out to the public, and thankfully, a member of the public recognized this suspect, according to the president.
We're following breaking news. Again, the shooting suspect in the murder of Charlie Kirk is in state custody as we speak, confirmed, of course, by our journalist and also announced by the President of the United States. We have a third senior law enforcement source confirming this, that the suspect is in custody and that family members actually were involved in this. We're going to get a lot more in a news conference
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Obviously, there's a lot to sort through as to
Still doing
what
sound
to
checks.
release to the public during this news conference, and also what information can be gleaned from this suspect now that they have him. A lot of questions about motive, about planning, about whether or not there were more people involved. I mean, this is still a live, active situation for this campus until those questions are answered. Jonathan Lemire.
Yeah, and I would certainly anticipate this suspect, whoever he might be, there'll need to be intense security surrounding him, considering what a high-profile crime this was, and it's how it's inflamed passions across the political spectrum, particularly in the right, who were considered Kirk a friend and ally. Mark, there's so much we don't know yet, and obviously we hope we get some answers in 45 minutes. But talk to us a little bit about something we've been discussing all week. Just Mika sort of hinted at it. Sort of almost, I don't want to use professionalism because that actually suggests this person was paid. We had no idea. But there's an experienced shooter, perhaps. It was carefully planned. It seemed to be methodical in terms of how this person got in. Was able to take one shot only, quickly get out, and elude capture for 48 hours or so. What more are we hearing from investigators in terms of just what they, not who this person is, we don't know, but just the degree of preparation that went into this?
Yeah, I think that's a solid point, and that's what investigators are looking at. They're telling us, multiple investigators, some who have been on the shows here.
It's so weird to see
that shot from that range, 200
the
yards
people, other people just kind of walking casually away too. Not that they should be paying attention to this guy running away and jumping off the roof, but a gunshot just rang out,
and then you talk to law enforcement sources as well.
and then there's just these people walking around.
The planning. It wasn't just happenstance that person chose that stairwell, that roof. They felt strongly that they don't know to what degree that person may have planned, but there was some planning. That's what they believe.
And we have more reporting coming in from our reporters on this, and we're hearing that the suspect, which you can sort of see in the pictures, is in his early 20s and is from Utah. We're going to be going live to Orem, Utah. Aaron Gilchrist is standing by. He's in the room where the news conference is going to take place at 9:30 Eastern Time.
We're still waiting for them to get started.
Of this execution of Charlie Kirk, Here it is. Look at this. Plenty of opportunities because everyone was standing there just filming the lumbering jackass, Thomas Matthew Crooks. Everyone was like, look, he's got a gun. Now, why the feds and Secret Service didn't do anything? Let's have that conversation. Not today, but we've had that conversation on this channel before. Why no one caught him? Why they allowed him? Look at him. Look at him. There's no video of this. There's no video like this at all.
They're talking about the Trump shooter.
The killing of Charlie Kirk. The political assassination of Charlie Kirk.
This is video from
And now there's
the assassination attempt on
motive.
Trump.
Here is what looks like a screenshot. Is this a screenshot of the mother's Facebook? A scroll of the mother's Facebook. It sort of just kind of looks like any mother's Facebook like account. Just like it looks like he's got some brothers. Just like a normie family, normie Utah family. This is his graduation photo there in the Red Rocks of Utah. Just normie stuff. Same thing with Thomas Matthew Crooks. I guess, were there warning signs? I suppose. I put up the New York Times article. That's the best that we have of his internet search history. That shows that he was engaging in, he began to spiral and engage in some dangerous stuff. Obviously anti-Trump stuff. Do you remember the op? The op was that he was a right-winger. That was the op. And what is this photo? Is this some sporting event? Okay. Producer Jerry is sending these. So we have more on him, I suppose. We had nothing on Thomas Matthew Crooks. Nothing. But we have more on the Charlie Kirk killer just based on some seemingly generic young man in America life. Here he is. Is that his mother? Perhaps here another photo of him. That's him driving. Here's him giving his mother a hug, perhaps. Is that correct? Okay. Now, here's what's important about this photo is that it's the same as my screen, please. You can see he's wearing the exact same outfit. He's wearing the same shirt, sunglasses, and everything right there as that photo. Same hat, sunglasses.
It's like a dorm room.
Right before the
That's a dorm
Charlie
room.
Kirk killing. What the hell's going on here? I don't know. We await the FBI press conference. We are here to give you as much information as we possibly can. All of this is breaking. All of this is happening live right now. Soon, and let's pop up the screen, you will be able to see the FBI's live press conference. This is all that we've seen for the last hour. We've now been live for an hour. This is all that we've seen. This has been the same shot. They've done a couple mic tests. Reporters have flooded into the room. This was supposed to be live at 9 o'clock. It is now close to 1 hour late. Here it is. Is this it? Okay. Producers. Yep.
Hello,
Here
testing.
Live.
Hi, everyone. We are 4 minutes out from starting the press conference. Thank you.
All right.
4 minutes.
There we go. So hopefully all of these answers soon from the FBI. Kash Patel was live at the press conference yesterday. It was a very short press conference where they were able to give us this footage. Here's the footage of Tyler Robinson wandering the rooftop and jumping off. President Trump says they got him. The FBI says they got him. Do we have anything else? Anything more? Anything more on him? I mean, like, here at what seems to be can you put up the stadium shot again? Here what seems to be like him at a sporting event. My producers are doing their best to scour social media to find anything further that we have. I'm so perplexed. I'm so confused. Of course, the last
in the world's she taking a picture of?
A post-arrest picture, or even a pre-arrest picture, but just without anything with his, so we could see the face. There's plenty of pictures floating around online. Those are unconfirmed. Rocky Mountains, our viewer, says, see if they take questions.
They haven't been taking questions lately.
One of our viewers said, so the kid just went home afterward. Possibly he went home.
That's right, John. We were given a 4-minute warning 3 minutes ago, so it's 20 seconds.
This is it. Much of it.
I think the 4-minute warning was about 4 minutes ago. Ralph Lemon thinks the family has been deleting personal social media accounts. I've seen some talk of family social media accounts. I haven't gone in myself and looked at that stuff. I could certainly see that happening if people don't want to be, bothered by other people online. I haven't seen his social.
Or setting them to private. 100%, I could see that happening.
I haven't seen posts about it yet. But maybe we can talk about that after the press conference. One of the viewers said his Facebook is still up.
Getting ready to get started here pretty soon, guys.
So, for example, there's an account online.
They should be starting here.
There's
I think
an
they
account,
said about
one
10
of our
a.m.
viewers, Matt Hutzer, sent me an account online that I guess some people think is his mother's account, and on the top post, which has nothing to do with her children, there's just like 1,000 comments on it now, and a lot of them are nasty comments. So, again, I don't even know if this is his mother, but on this account that I guess people think is his mother's account, there's, again, on the top highest post there, the first post, which has nothing to do with her children, there's over 1,000 comments on it, and a lot of them are very nasty. So, I mean, this is what happens. So there was I think it's been over 4 minutes since the 4-minute warning.
Yep.
We got a 4-minute warning probably, what, 7 or 8 minutes ago, although maybe my internal clock is off. So any moment now this is supposed to start. Again, multiple outlets identify the suspect as Tyler Robinson, 22, of Utah. President Trump said his father and a minister were involved in him getting turned in. CNN said he confessed to his father. Thank you to the Vladinator, by the way. Dad's 1978, Ralph, Lemon, Jonathan, Just Me, Brady Stevenson, Kells. Kells said, would love to know the motive. I don't know if we're going to get anything about that today. We'll see. We'll have to see.
I hear people in the room saying they're on their way. We'll update our lower.
Yes, so this press conference was scheduled to start about an hour ago. It has been pushed, and now seeing officials walking into the room. They will be moving to the podium any second now. I'm trying to see if I can see Captain Challenge. And also so far, they are moving towards the podium, and we are going to get this information now. We have been waiting for about an hour for. So, officially moving towards the podium. So, there is Cash Patel, the director of the FBI. So I believe I should get out of the way.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. At today's press conference, we will hear from Governor Cox, FBI Director Kash Patel, and Sheriff Mike Smith. We also have with us Utah DPS Commissioner Bo Mason, Lieutenant Governor Deidre Henderson, FBI Special Agent in Charge Robert Bowles, and local and federal law enforcement partners. Following the remarks today, Governor Cox, Director Patel, and Commissioner Mason will take questions. Thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We got him. On the evening of September 11th, a family member of Tyler Robinson reached out to a family friend who contacted the Washington County Sheriff's Office with information that Robinson had confessed to them or implied that he had committed the incident. This information was relayed to the Utah County Sheriff's Office and scene investigators at Utah Valley University. This information was also conveyed to the FBI. Investigators reviewed additional video footage from UVU surveillance and identified Robinson arriving on UVU campus in a gray Dodge Challenger at approximately 8:29 a.m. on September 10th, in which he is observed on video in a plain maroon t-shirt, light-colored shorts, a black hat with a white logo, and light-colored shoes. When encountered in person by investigators in Washington County on September 12th, In the early morning hours, Robinson was observed in consistent clothing with those surveillance images. Investigators interviewed a family member of Robinson who stated that Robinson had become more political in recent years. The family member referenced a recent incident in which Robinson came to dinner prior to September 10th, and in the conversation with another family member, Robinson mentioned Charlie Kirk was coming to UVU. They talked about why they didn't like him and the viewpoints that he had. The family member also stated Kirk was full of hate and spreading hate. The family member also confirmed Robinson had a gray Dodge Challenger. Investigators identified an individual as the roommate of Robinson. Investigators interviewed that roommate, who stated that his roommate, referring to Robinson, made a joke on Discord. Investigators asked if he would show them the messages on Discord. He opened it and showed several messages to investigators and allowed investigators to take photos of the screen as each message was shown by Robinson's roommate. These photos consisted of various messages, including content of messages between the phone contact named Tyler with an emoji icon and Robinson's roommate's device. The content of these messages included messages affiliated with the contact Tyler, stating a need to retrieve a rifle from a drop point, leaving the rifle in a bush, messages related to visually watching the area where a rifle was left, and a message referring to having left the rifle wrapped in a towel. The messages also refer to engraving bullets and a mention of a scope and the rifle being unique. Messages from the contact Tyler also mentioned that he had changed outfits. I know there's been speculation as well as to the writing on those casings, those bullet casings, and I believe we have that as well. And I'll share that with you now. So the area north of Campus Drive Road where the suspect crossed over, you saw some of that in the video that we released last night, consists of a grassy area with trees on the edge of the UVU campus. Investigators discovered a bolt-action rifle wrapped in a dark-colored towel. The rifle was determined to be a Mauser Model 98 30-06 caliber bolt-action rifle. The rifle had a scope mounted on top of it. Investigators noted inscriptions that had been engraved on casings found with the rifle. Inscriptions on a fired casing read, "Notices, bulges, capital O-W-O, what's this, question mark." Inscriptions on the 3 unfired casings read, "Hey fascist, exclamation point, catch, exclamation point." Up arrow symbol, right arrow, and symbol, and 3 down arrow symbols. A second unfired casing read, "Oh Bella Chow, Bella Chow, Bella Chow, Chow Chow," and a third unfired casing read, "If you read this, you are gay, LMAO." We are indebted to law enforcement across the state who's worked seamlessly together.
Well, that's some mixed
local law
messaging.
enforcement, state law enforcement, and our federal partners with the Federal Bureau of Investigation. We're grateful for everyone who worked together in such a short amount of time to find this person and to bring justice. I want to thank the public who has been so engaged, reviewing videos, helping us with sending in tips, and helping us get to this point. I want to thank the family members of Tyler Robinson who did the right thing in this case and were able to bring him into to law enforcement as well. I especially want to thank the family of Charlie Kirk, Erica, Charlie's parents, his children. I want us to be thinking of them as we bring justice in this case. They will be involved in that justice. We will be working very closely with them as we move through this process as well. This is a very sad day for our country, a terrible day for the state of Utah, but I'm grateful that at this moment we have an opportunity to bring closure to this very dark chapter in our nation's history. With that, I will now turn the microphone over to the Director of the FBI, Kash Patel.
Kash Patel.
Thank you, Governor. This is what happens when you let good cops be cops. The FBI and our partners
I bet he
are
says
proud
something
to
about
stand
Trump,
here today together to bring justice to the family of Charlie Kirk and honor his memory. I want to express my deep gratitude to President Trump,
There
the
we
Vice
go.
President, and the entire White House who have been so incredibly supportive with both resources and just personally to the FBI as a team. They had our backs the entire way, and I just want to express my gratitude for giving us the resources we need to operate in this space to bring this sort of justice at this sort of speed. In 33 hours, we have made historic progress for Charlie. Governor Cox, our partnership has been absolutely incredible these last few days. Our partnership will endure. Your state and local partners, your sheriffs, your DPS community has been unbelievably impressive in the hardest of times. And a case like this cannot be solved, cannot be brought without partnering with your state and local authorities. The FBI has a certain role to play. We will play that role, and we will lead out for the federal government. Governor Cox, we are so grateful for your state partnership that led out on this investigation. A little bit of the timeline. Charlie was shot at 12:23 p.m. on Wednesday. The first FBI agents arrived on scene in 16 minutes with chiefs of police at 12:39 and secured the scene. The FBI immediately launched fixed-wing assets. We utilized these assets to transport personnel, specialty technicians, hostage rescue teams. We also utilized these assets to go back and forth from the East Coast and here in Utah to transport forensic evidence and other evidence that will be analyzed and is being analyzed at our FBI laboratories in Quantico and other laboratories, including the ATF. At my direction, the FBI released the first set of FBI photos of the suspect at 10 a.m. local time on 9/11. Then, shortly thereafter, the FBI reward of $100,000 was released at 10:45 a.m. local. Myself and Deputy Director Bongino arrived on the scene at approximately 5:30 p.m. on 9/11. The governor led a press conference last night at approximately 8 p.m. where, at my direction, the FBI released a never-before-seen video of the suspect. We also released new images to the public of the suspect. And
That's
just last
so
night,
funny.
the suspect was taken into custody at 10 p.m. local time. In less than 36 hours, 33 to be precise, thanks to the full weight of the federal government and leading out with the partners here in the state of Utah and Governor Cox, the suspect was apprehended in a historic time period. And I want to highlight what Governor Cox said. This would not have been possible without you, the media, and you, the public. That's why we went so public, so fast, and we're so transparent, and we're committed to that transparency. The crime scene, just a little bit there. It is a large crime scene. State and local authorities, along with federal authorities, processed that crime scene quickly, and I even had the ability to walk through that crime scene and walk through the steps the suspect took to learn more about what was needed and what resources we needed to bear to create a full picture for the FBI and leadership back in Washington. Furthermore, thankfully to state and local partners, forensic evidence has been seized and continues to be garnered. Forensic evidence has already been evaluated at FBI laboratories in Quantico and state and local authorities here. We will continue to process evidence as we see it, as we collect it, and we will continue to deliver to Governor Cox and his team. Last night, we had a total of approximately 7,000 leads. As of this morning, thanks to your great work, we have over 11,000 leads that were called in to the FBI. And we are running out every single lead that we can. Every one of those leads will be run out. The arrest is a testament to the dedication of good law enforcement being great, and partnerships in law enforcement, which I've tried to highlight as my tenure as the director of the FBI. There is no better relationship for law enforcement than the FBI to partner with state and local authorities, and you've seen it here in these last few days. The FBI Salt Lake field office, along with our offices in LA, Phoenix, Denver, San Antonio, Las Vegas, Pittsburgh, Buffalo, our headquarters component in Quantico, all participate in the FBI. I want to express my deep gratitude to the employees of the FBI, the men and women, the evidence response team tacticians, the special operators, the agents, the support staff. You have done monumental work in historic time when the public, who had a right to demand such an expeditious solving of an investigation, the FBI answered that call diligently, critically important to our nation, and we delivered. And I'm proud to be their leader, and I'm proud to be the director of the FBI. This is a very much an ongoing investigation, as the governor said, and we will continue to work with state and local authorities to develop the investigation, to provide them the evidence they need for their ongoing prosecutions, and we will be here to answer every call they absolutely have, as long as it takes, for as long as we need to find and apprehend whatever suspects were involved in this crime. Lastly, to my friend Charlie Kirk, rest now, brother. We have the watch, and I'll see you in Valhalla.
Thank you, and good morning. I would just like to take a few minutes as the sheriff to express my gratitude for everybody who has played a part in this investigation. As you know, it's been a vast, a complicated, and a very, very fast-paced investigation. You're looking at people standing up here who are running on, if they got an hour's sleep in the last couple of days, they're probably lucky. It has been very taxing. It has been so impressive, speaking on behalf of the local law enforcement, to see the cooperation that we've seen in this type of case. Across the state, sheriffs, chiefs, our state partners have stepped up and have come to the call on anything that we needed. Our county chiefs have been phenomenal. Our Utah County Attorney, Jeff Gray, who's standing up here with us, has been phenomenal in leading us through this investigation. I would like to thank the federal government for their resources, their assets. Our local team here, our FBI team, has been extraordinary in helping us work through this and bring this person to justice. Most of all, I would like to thank the public, and specifically, I would like to thank the public who turned to prayers and who turned to positiveness for us. I would like to thank them on behalf of the law enforcement community, because we needed those prayers. That's what we needed to get through this. We needed your support, and you gave it to us. We needed your patience, and you gave it to us. And I would like to thank you for the Kirk family, because that's what they need, is your support and your prayers, and that will get us through all of this. So thank you, everybody, for everybody that has stepped up. We've had such a phenomenal response to this. Thank you.
I also want to give a special thanks to the Attorney General and the Department of Justice. Their unwavering support and their commitment to justice is shown true here. And without AG Bondi and Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche and the resources they brought to bear, we would not have been able to complete our mission. And I just want to say special thanks. It's an honor to be a part of the Department of Justice.
Thank you again to our incredible law enforcement team who has worked so hard. Sheriff, I got a solid 90 minutes last night, so I'm probably the most well-rested person up here. Ladies and gentlemen, I get the microphone, so I hope you'll permit me a moment just to share a few more thoughts about where we are and how we got here, and maybe a little bit of where we go from here. I don't want to get too preachy, but I think it's important that we, with eyes wide open, understand what's happening in our country today. I've heard people say, well, why are we so invested in this? There's violence happening all across our country, and violence is tragic everywhere, and every life taken is
We just heard Cash come up and throw in, thanks to the Department of Justice.
This is certainly
I always feel like he's interviewing for the job that he has whenever he comes up. He always comes up, he'll say something about how great the president is, almost every time. It's really, it's kind of funny. And then everything that he says after that, he looks kind of scared every time he's talking. And just now when he came, he left the mic, someone else talked, and then he came back up to thank the Department of Justice. I feel like he was sitting back there and being like, oh man, I'm going to be in trouble if I don't say their name.
Violence is different than any other type of violence for lots of different reasons. One, because in the very act that Charlie championed of expression, that freedom of expression that is enshrined in our founding documents, in having his life taken in that very act makes it more difficult for people to feel like they can share their ideas, that they can speak freely. We will never be able to solve all the other problems, including the violence problems that people are worried about, if we can't have a clash of ideas safely and securely. Even, especially those ideas with which you disagree. That's why this matters so much. Over the last 48 hours, I have been as angry as I have ever been, as sad as I have ever been. And it was, as anger pushed me to the brink, it was actually Charlie's words that pulled me back. I'd like to share some of those. And specifically right now, if I could, I need to talk to the young people in our state, in my state, and all across the country. As President Trump reminded me, he said, you know who really loved Charlie? The youths. And he's right. Young people loved Charlie, and young people hated Charlie. And Charlie went into those places anyway. And these are the words that have helped me. Charlie said, when people stop talking, that's when you get violence. He said, the weak can never forgive. Forgiveness is the attribute of the strong. The only way out of the labyrinth of suffering is to forgive. Welcome without judgment, love without condition, forgive without limit. He said, always forgive your enemies. Nothing annoys them so much. A few months ago, I referenced this last night, Charlie posted to social media, when things are moving very fast and people are losing their minds, it's important to stay grounded. Turn off your phone, read scripture, spend time with friends, and remember, internet fury is not real life. It's going to be okay. He again said, when you stop having a human connection with someone you disagree with, it becomes a lot easier to commit violence. He said, what we as a culture have to get back to is being able to have a reasonable agreement, where violence is not an option. Now, again, to my young friends out there, you are inheriting a country where politics feels like rage. It feels like rage is the only option. But through those words, we have a reminder that we can choose a different path. Your generation has an opportunity to build a culture that is very different than what we are suffering through right now. Not by pretending differences don't matter, but by embracing our differences and having those hard conversations. I think we need more moral clarity right now. I hear all the time that words are violence.
I'll give him this. He writes his own
Words
speech.
are not violence. Violence is violence.
This is not AI. This is what this guy really feels.
Responsible
I respect that.
for what happened here. And that person is now in custody and will be charged soon and will be held accountable. And yet, all of us have an opportunity right now to do something different. I want to thank my fellow Utahns. This bad stuff happens. And for 33 hours, I was praying that if this had to happen here, that it wouldn't be one of us. That somebody drove from another state, somebody came from another country. Sadly, that prayer was not answered the way I hoped for, just because I thought it would make it easier on us if we could just say, hey, we don't do that here. And indeed, Utah is a special place. We lead the nation in charitable giving. We lead the nation in service every year. But it did happen here. And it was one of us. But I want you to look at how Utahns reacted the last 2 nights. There was no rioting. There was no looting. There were no cars set on fire. There was no violence. There were vigils and prayers and people coming together to share the humanity. And that, ladies and gentlemen, I believe is the answer to this. We can return violence with violence. We can return hate with hate. And that's the problem with political violence, is it metastasizes. Because we can always point the finger at the other side. And at some point, we have to find an off-ramp, or it's going to get much, much worse. But see, these are choices that we can make. History will dictate if this is a turning point for our country. But every single one of us gets to choose right now if this is a turning point for us. We get to make decisions. We have our agency. And I desperately call on every American, Republican, Democrat, liberal, progressive, conservative, MAGA, all of us to please, please, please follow what Charlie taught me. I'll just conclude with words I share often from a friend and author, Yuval Levin, who was asked if he was optimistic about our country. And he said, I'm not optimistic. He said, I hate optimism. God, that sounds bad. But he said, optimism is a vice. It's this idea that good things are just going to happen. And he said, in the history of the world, good things have never just happened. He says, I'm not optimistic, but I am hopeful. And hope is the virtue that sits between the vices of optimism and pessimism. Hope is the idea that good things are going to happen because we can make them so. I still believe in our country. And I know Charlie Kirk believed in our country. I still believe that there is more good among us than evil. And I still believe that we can change the course of history. I'm hopeful because Americans can make it so. Ladies and gentlemen, we're happy to answer any questions you have.
Governor, can you please speak to whether the suspect is speaking with authorities and his demeanor, Tyler Robinson, when he turned himself in?
I cannot speak to that.
Governor, how do you interpret his motivation? Governor, how do you interpret the engravings on the case of
Well, I will leave that up to you to interpret what those engravings mean. I think the clearest one that says "catch fascist," there's not. And by the way, that's like catch like a ball, catch this. That's I think that speaks for itself.
Governor, you talked about this level of hatred that this person expressed at a dinner. Beyond that, is there anything in your view that you've discovered that may have radicalized or changed him to prompt him to commit such a horrific act?
There's nothing more that we can share at this time.
Governor, you indicated that he had been communicating with a friend on Discord about the gun. Do you anticipate any more arrests?
We do not at this time have any information that would lead to any additional arrests.
Do you believe he acted alone?
Yes. But the investigation is ongoing.
Can you tell more about the family, what they had to say about the suspect?
How he came into custody of police and where he is right now, Mr. Robinson?
Yes, so right now, Mr. Robinson has been booked into the Utah County Jail. You heard the president this morning report that he was taken into custody, that his family and a friend helped to deliver him into custody of law enforcement in Washington County. Those of you that don't know where Washington County is, it is the southernmost, southwesternmost part of the state of Utah. It's about a 3.5 to 4 hour drive from here, where we are right now, and that's where he lived and where they turned him.
Is he talking more about what the family is saying about Tyler Robinson?
I can't share any more than what I've already shared.
Is he talking
Governor,
with
do you have
authorities?
details on how he got back to Washington County and how the gun was obtained?
So, how we obtained the gun? The gun was found.
No, how the
was found
shooter
in-
obtained the gun and how the shooter then was able to get back to Washington.
So I don't have much more details on that. We do know that he drove. We had his car here on campus, and then we had his car going south back to the St. George. It's actually the city of Washington in Washington County.
Is he talking with authorities and did he discuss a motive?
I'm sorry.
Did the suspect plan to carry out any other attacks?
We don't have any information that
Are you
will
going to be
release.
releasing the mugshot?
Yes, in fact, it was just released.
Is
Yes.
he talking with authorities and did he discuss a motive?
I can't answer that right now.
Can you clarify? You've spoken very eloquently about trying to reunite this country. Do you feel that this is a watershed in American history?
I absolutely believe that this is a watershed in American history. Yes. The question is what kind of watershed, and that chapter remains to be written. Is this the end of a dark chapter in our history, or the beginning of a darker chapter in our history? Look. I mean, if you look at true political assassinations in this country of someone of this stature, this feels a lot like the late '60s, and having one so gruesomely displayed on camera in all of our hands and in all of our pockets. We are not wired as human beings, biologically, historically. We have not evolved in a way that we are capable of processing those types of violent imagery. And by the way, we've seen another one with a gruesome stabbing very recently that went viral. This is not good for us. It is not good to consume. Social media is a cancer on our society right now. And I would encourage people to log off, turn off, touch grass, hug a family member, go out and do good in your community. That is happening, and it's happening organically right now. I had a friend in a small city in Utah who said, we're getting together, the Republicans and Democrats in my little town are getting together to have a discussion last night, just to find a way to find their better angels. So yes, this could be, I mean, again, you have to go back to JFK to have seen a video live of something like this happening. I wasn't born until 1975, but I know that things were really dark in the late 60s. Sorry to some of you. I know some of you were there. This is our moment. Do we escalate, or do we find an off-ramp? And again, it's a choice. It's a choice, and every one of us gets to make that choice. Two more questions right here.
Could we clarify that the release of those enhanced images at 8 p.m., the timeline that Director Patel gave us, led to the arrest at 10 p.m.? Is there a direct connection between those two events?
I cannot comment if there is a direct connection or not, but all I can say is that through some process, the family came to know that this had happened.
One more thing, Governor. Could you just clarify the clothing issue you mentioned earlier? Was he changing outfits?
Correct.
Could you just clarify this?
Yes. So when he's first spotted on campus, he has different clothing on, and then he changes clothing on the roof, and then changed back into that clothing at some point, so that when he was apprehended, when he was arrested, the clothing matched the clothing he had on before the shooting here at UVU. Last question here.
You said that the suspect was from Utah. Can you kind of tell us a little bit more about where, and was he a student here at this university, and is there any history of mental illness?
Yeah. So I don't have any information on the mental illness part. He was not a student here at UVU. He was living and had lived for a long time with his family in Washington County. Thank you, everyone, for your great work in getting this information out. I would just say, process-wise, this may be important. I know many of you aren't familiar with the process in Utah. I think it's important that you understand that. Basically, we have 3 days for charging documents to be filed. A CI will be filed. We'll have more information then, more detailed information as those charging documents are filed in preparation for a preliminary hearing. So 3 days. So we would anticipate then that early next week those charging documents will be filed. We will obviously be working. The county attorney will be working very closely with Mr. Kirk's family as those documents and decisions are prepared and made. Thanks, everyone. Working very closely with Mr. Kirk's family as those documents and decisions are prepared and made. Thanks, everyone.
We're back on Lookner's Agenda Free
so the
TV
suspect,
stream.
he's in custody. Tyler Robinson, the mugshot on the screen right there, from the governor's office. Thanks to credit to B&O News for letting me use their mugshot there. And we're going to take your comments on the air. I want to show you. I'm going to go back and just in a moment play the part where it was described, where the governor at the beginning gave information about that we got about how the suspect came to be in custody. Also, the writings on the on the gun and on the casings. Let me show you something about that. This right here is from. Hang on a moment here. I'm going to show you what the writings were on the ammunition on the ammunition. Let me do that. Hang on. Right here. So you can see this is from B&O News. Sorry. B&O News did a nice summary of the writings on the ammunition. So I want to show you that. Fired casing, notices bulges, OWO, what's this? Are they saying anything more? Okay. Yeah, the feed is, let's just do this. Unfired casings, hey fascist, catch, up arrow, right arrow, down arrow, down arrow, down arrow. Oh, Bella Chow, Bella Chow, Bella Chow, Bella Chow, Chow, Chow. And if you read this, you are gay, LMAO. What I want to do is, before we take your comments, I just want to go back and replay the part of the press conference where the governor basically gives the information about the person, about the evidence, about Discord messages that the person posted. So let me just do that right now to just clarify things a bit. And I'm going to put that on right now. I just want to go back and find that particular part here. And we'll show that to you, and then we'll take your comments. Sorry. Ash Farm said, hang on. I am pulling it up right now. Here it is. I'll have it for you right now, once it starts playing. I need to cue it up.
Right now we're watching Steve Lookner's Agenda Free
replay,
TV live stream.
The part of the press
for a little
conference
while
where the
to see
governor
his
kind of goes over everything.
Conference coverage.
There's this. There's this. There's this. Okay, here we go. This is the replay of what the governor said at the start of the press conference about the general information he gave out about the suspect.
So one of the inscriptions on the bullet casings is up arrow, right arrow, down arrow, down arrow, down arrow. It really sounded to me like a video game code. So I just did a little research. So I'm not saying this is it, but in Helldivers 2 stratagem code, in Helldivers 2, the input up, right, down, down, down calls the Eagle 500 kilogram bomb. That combo is widely memed online as, quote, call an airstrike in reaction to something you want to obliterate. Given the accompanying taunt, quote, hey fascists, catch, this mapping makes sense. So that really sounds like a match. So he put video game code that signifies for an airstrike right in a casing of a bullet that he fired to kill Charlie Kirk. So
Robinson, who stated that Robinson had become more political in recent years. The family member referenced a recent incident in which Robinson came to dinner prior to September 10th, and in the conversation with another family member, Robinson mentioned Charlie Kirk was coming to UU. They talked about why they didn't like him and the viewpoints that he had. The family member also stated Kirk was full of hate and spreading hate. The family member also confirmed Robinson had a gray Dodge Challenger. Investigators identified an individual as the roommate of Robinson. Investigators interviewed that roommate, who stated that his roommate...
So we've already heard this. I'm going to sign off for now, and we'll see kind of how the day progresses, and we'll be talking to you guys shortly. Until then, take care, guys.